Hi, I'm Katie Crane, and this is the Pilates Lounge. Welcome to Season 4, my friends, of the Pilates Lounge Podcast. This is a space for movement lovers, Pilates educators, and Pilates professionals who want to think a little bit deeper about the work we do. My name's Katie Crane. I've been teaching Pilates for over 20 years, and along the way, I've worn many hats: studio owner, teacher trainer, mentor, and lifelong student of the work we do. I'm also a surfer, an adventurer, a mum, a busy wife, and someone who believes that movement is by far more than exercise. On this podcast, we talk about Pilates as a practice, not just what we do on the mat or on the equipment, but how Pilates shapes the way we move, teach, lead, and live our lives. We explore anatomy, health, business, culture, and the evolving identity of Pilates in the modern world. This is a place for honest conversations, lived experience, and perspectives that respect both the lineage of Pilates and the people practicing it today. So thank you so much for being here. Let's dive into the episode. Hi friends, my name's Katie Crane, the Pilates professional. Welcome to another episode of the Pilates Lounge Podcast. Now, as you know, we are going through a series of topics this season. And in this series, I'm super excited to be talking to people who use Pilates as part of their athletic training, Pilates practitioners who train athletes, and also some other experts on athletics in general, so that we as Pilates professionals can really serve our athletic community better. So with that in mind, I have the perfect guest for us today, my good friend, Joanna Littlewood-Johnson. I'm literally going to hand over the microphone to you because if I don't, she's going to start talking before I even ask her a question anyway. So welcome to the show, Joanna. Thank you so much for joining us. I just want you to introduce yourself.
Hi, Katie and everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, my name is Joanna and I am 56 years old and I run a Pilates studio in Perth. I've basically been a dancer all my life. So that's my athlete. That's me as an athlete, as a dancer since I was about 4. So that's a long time. And I studied as a dancer full time. And then I went on to dance professionally until I was in my early 30s when I had my kids. So yeah, so I danced for a very long time. I thought my career was over. So generally, as a dancer and often in a lot of professional athletic realms, once you sort of hit 30, you get told that that's going to be the end of your career. So I had my kids, and then that's when I found out about Pilates and did my first teacher training course with Pilates International. So it was in 2003. And then I started my own classes, went on to do my full studio certification with the Australian Pilates Method Association in maybe 2006, and sort of set up a little home studio, which then became a proper studio, and I hired a space. And in that time, I had realized that I was missing dancing. So somewhere in between those few years, I realized I was missing dancing, and I discovered pole. So pole dancing, pole fitness, different names for it. There's lots of different styles. And I sort of fell in love with that and started to compete, which was a whole different ballgame again. And then I opened my proper Pilates studio in a hired space, and I added a pole dancing studio as well. And yeah, I just continued to train a lot. And once I started to teach pole, incorporate a lot of my Pilates concepts into my teaching. So I started to train a little differently for myself. I compete a little more. Went on to win some Australian and international competitions. Was a finalist on Australia's Got Talent. Then, basically that's my story, and it hasn't stopped since then. So I've been teaching pole and Pilates in my studio practicing both for myself and still competing up until now. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. So what does that look like when you say that you were practicing pole dancing? Like you had that massive history of dance anyway, so you understand dance movement very well. You know, you put that on a pole. How does then learning Pilates, or how does bringing Pilates into your practice change what you might do as a pole dancer if you weren't practicing Pilates?
Just more body awareness and like muscular connection and balance, and just it's basically by doing Pilates and bringing my Pilates concepts into my drills, I guess, and then into my whole work has kept me, I'm going to say mostly injury free because there's been a few accidents along the way, but has kept me pretty much injury free and able to a lot more than a lot younger people actually, because I'm able to work on muscle recruitment and know how to engage my shoulders, my glutes, my legs, get better lines and make my work, I'm going to say, lighter and easier and more mobile around the pole. So I definitely think there's a huge benefit in that. And like I said, whether it's body awareness or muscle recruitment, core engagement and those fine motor skills, I think that's definitely helped me a lot. And as a teacher as well, because I can see all of that in my students too.
Mm-hmm. So then when you're training, do you split the two apart? So like, are you either practicing your dancing and your pole, like on the pole, or are you doing Pilates, or do you kind of mash it together within your session?
I use Pilates a lot as probably a warm-up, I guess, and maybe more specific movements, or I might do them separately. It depends on, I guess, my energy levels, my time that I've got available, and those sorts of things as well. So I might specifically be thinking, oh, I need to work a little bit more on like example, hip mobility for a certain type of movement. So then I might do whether it's a focused warm up or a focused session on the chair or the reformer or even trapeze table to sort of find that movement and connections for myself. Yeah, so it could be part of my warm up or it could be a separate session. It varies. If I'm training for competition, probably more of the warm up type of focus.
Mhm. And so you said that you've had a couple of accidents along the way. What type of injuries have you sustained, either from pole or from outside life, that has had an impact on your pole dancing? And what did recovery look like for you?
Well, the most major one that I've had, which was 19 months ago, I ruptured my Achilles tendon, and yeah, fully ruptured. Had to have surgery. And that was basically it was the day before a competition. It was an hour before I was about to leave home to fly out. It was just pushing off the floor. It was in the middle of running a routine and I just pushed off the floor a bit like people would in basketball or any of those other sports where they do the same injury, and it just went. So I didn't feel anything at the time. I didn't hear anything because my music was up loud. I literally just thought my heel had slipped on the floor. But in hindsight, and I hope this is not too much information, I think it was my Achilles sliding off the back of my, like sliding under my heel. So I felt the gap and I knew straight away. I knew what I'd done. And so I had surgery 3 days later and was back teaching a week later. So there's a whole, there was a lot of different strategies that I had to apply in my teaching and recovery. But yeah, so there was a long recovery process. I wasn't able to wait there for 3 months on that foot. And then, so I had a goal then to be back on stage 11 months later, which I did. So there was a lot of work to get there. Yeah.
And so when you have an injury like that, is that common? Is that is that a pretty common injury for you guys?
Well, I hadn't heard of anyone in pole having done it before, although then I did have know someone else do it a couple of months later. I've known someone do it, a pole dancer do it, but she was training for like one of those ninja warriors, and she did it on the walk wall, where they have to run up the thing. And I've known ballet dancers that have done it. But I guess because I do a lot of dance work in my routines, it's that push off the back leg. And my Achilles are very, very long, as in like I could squat right down on the floor with my heels flat, and I have extremely long Achilles tendons. So it's, basically my heels stayed down and my body kept going. So it was, I mean, who knows what caused it? I have a couple of theories of what caused it. I think partly maybe just training the routine over and over and going from into jumping after wearing heels, but also menopause, I think, was a contributing factor. That sort of loss of estrogen and the brittleness of your tendons per se through there, which I hadn't really thought about before, but it's definitely changed some of my strategies to nutrition and what I'm training now. Yeah, so that happened. And then I literally went back straight to doing some Pilates. It's when I was home, I was doing low level Pilates like work to maintain my full body strength without putting any weight on my feet. So I was doing legs up, or I was doing side lying, or I was resting my leg on cushions so that I could keep the rest of my body active so that I could get back to doing, basically maintain as much as I could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. And I wonder the same. It's like, because you're not a spring chicken as far as doing really dynamic type of athletic work, right? And you don't. I would think my understanding of our tendons, ligaments, and even the type of collagen that you're producing now, you don't have that rebound anymore. Hey, do you feel that in your work that you don't have that spring back that you used to have, or you don't notice it?
I hadn't really thought about it before, but it's definitely something I've noticed now. And I've done it. I've actually started doing a little bit more like plyometrics as well. And I've always been very good at jumping and like that recovery in my muscles. So the recovery, I guess, comes down to all of that in the whole body. And so I guess I just started to just redo a lot of maybe more loaded bouncing type of work as well, which was different to what I'd ever done before as a dancer, ballet dancer. I was always taught, make sure you put your heels down when you're jumping and you're using the whole foot. But doing that little bit more sort of, I'm going to say pounding type of jumping, which is always against what I thought, is to create the tension in in the tendons. So loading in the tendons a little bit more. So as much as the springiness, I had that length and probably had that, but I didn't maybe have as much of that muscle tension. I'm not sure. So it's just something I've just started working a little bit more on. And I've always taught things like jump board, but started to do a little bit more of that for myself as well. Yeah, like add more than what I was doing before, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was just going to say, I was listening to a podcast the other day and talking about that, and they were talking about actually how they're just doing studies and that our muscle structure changes as well after menopause, which I found quite interesting. Like when they do MRIs or whatever. Anyway, can't remember how it was, but the muscle structure looks different to younger people, even if you're strong. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Hey, well, yeah, don't quote me on it, but I think it's like partly it's that those rebound fibers are not as active, so you don't have that recovery from jumping and stuff. Yeah, I know that your collagen type changes, like so you have like kind of more thicker, brittle collagen that you're producing. But yeah, I don't know exactly for the muscle structure. But yeah, I'm sure it would. Like I can
it was
feel it even.
interesting.
I'm 50 and I can feel it, definitely.
Yeah. 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 And that just goes with like, even if you're strong, and I guess it comes down to that sort of sarcopenia, and it's harder to maintain muscle rather than, I mean, I know you can still build it, but it's different. It's slightly different. I'm not sure of the exact details, but yeah, quite interesting. But yeah, definitely I am very aware of, and I've always done good warm-ups and I've always done like good ankle warm-ups and jumping, but I'm just very much more aware of, making sure that I'm maintaining that when I get, especially when I'm working on, get a little bit obsessed with training for a competition routine, that I make sure that I put in that extra time to really maybe do a little bit more.
Mm. And so when you're training and in your Pilates, say you're training for competition and you're doing Pilates, do you find, because I would say that the training on the pole is quite athletic, do you match your Pilates to that athleticism, or are you using Pilates like from a warm-up perspective that you say, is it just like, is it the traditional Pilates that we're doing in the studio, and maybe some jump board and stuff, or is it very athletic type of Pilates that you're doing as part of your training?
I mean, I guess when you say athletic, I guess with my Pilates, when I do it for myself, I do a lot of really focused, slow, like, am I connecting properly? Because when I'm teaching, maybe I don't think about it quite so much. And I really want to be able to go, like, when I'm doing a pole move or combinational routine, that I don't have to think about it. And I think that's the beauty of Pilates, is that the aim is that we're getting those brain, body, muscular, neural connections, that so then when we go and do something more athletic, we don't have to think about it. They just happen automatically. So I probably actually sometimes do stuff that's not necessarily super, people might think super challenging, but it's like trying to get as focused connections as I can. So I might just do like traditional sort of footwork, basic arms, arms in straps, just like legs and straps. But I might vary it a little bit to be more specific, like I might do single legs or something like that. But just or more balanced work, where if I'm on the wonder chair standing on something that's a bit unstable, or sitting on something that's a bit unstable, or those sorts of things,
Mm.
but adding extra legs into my pikes and things like that. But I would say just variation on more traditional work, really stuff. Yeah. So I don't want to have to think too hard about making something complicated. I want to think more about how I'm doing it.
Right. So you're using Pilates very much as that intentional, focused, mindful work that you know where your joints are, you know your positioning. So then when you go and do your athletic stuff, your nervous system can nail that because you've done that work. Is that what I'm hearing? Mm.
Exactly. 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 But it might be like, well, I need to focus more on connecting my glutes, or my hip extensors or my back, whatever. So then I might add a bit more resistance or something like that, or change the direction of my, rotation of my leg or something like that, just to suit, I might want to have a bit more external rotation, or actually some things I might want to have a bit more internal rotation. So, and same with arms, there's a lot of different arm positions where I might need to change my arm position, like internally rotate a little bit. There's a lot of internal rotation positions of the arm in pole, which is where a lot of people end up with shoulder injuries. So I might do work on that type of thing, and a lot of overhead arm work. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I guess it's adapting it. And I probably don't have a set routine as far as my Pilates. I'll be like, what do I feel like I need to work on today? So I guess I know my body and I know what I want to, and I can feel like, well, I feel tight here, or I feel like that's not connecting. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I think that this is a really important conversation to have, because we see the definition of Pilates has expanded so much, but the magic happens in the foundational work that Pilates was always taught. You don't have to be on a reformer with 5 kilo hand weights, with one leg in the air and turning around in a circle for the work to do what it's designed to do, right? Like, you're keeping it relatively
Exactly.
simple to be able to do
Yep.
amazing things.
Yeah. If I wanted to add more weight, I would get off the reformer and I would grab some hand weights and do some hand weights. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't need to add that on the reformer. The reformer has enough work for me. And I find the beauty of it in that simplicity. And yeah, if I wanted to go, I need to add more heavy lifting, I would go and pick up, I've got a hex bar to do some squats, because I also had a DEXA scan last year, and no matter all the things I do, all the dancing I've done, all the loading I've done, everything, I've got osteopenia in my hips. So, which was like a bit of a surprise, but sort of not, because it's actually quite common after menopause, even for dancers and runners and things like that. So I'm just aware of that. So that's something that I've also added into my routine, as well as that like heavy, that sort of plyometric type of jumping. So getting that loading, and but which has also made me consider it for my teaching. So even for my average students, making sure that we are doing standing work, even if it's just like scooters or standing leg work on the reformer. But again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be lunges on the reformer or side presses on the reformer to create that load in the bones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like osteopenia would be very common with your body type.
Yeah. And also, I mean, again, I think maybe I'm on HRT now, and I'm hoping that will help a little bit as well. Yeah. And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's good to know. So tell me, when you injured yourself, because you kind of just blazed over it, like it was like, oh yeah, I just kind of took things back to basics and was working within a week and or whatever, because you're that type of personality who, yeah, that's normal for you, right? But the
yeah,
reality
right.
of it is Achilles tendon is a big injury, right? It's like the biggest tendon
Yeah.
in your body. It has a huge
Yeah.
effect on that whole back line of your body. So I saw you on Instagram flying around the pole with your boot on, like nothing, like it was Sunday. But what does recovery really look like? Like at what stage how long did you have to rest that for? And then at what stage were you able to start loading up? And then how long did it take you to fully recover? Hey friend, thanks so much for listening. Did you know that you can now find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Pilates Professional? Now, if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone else who would benefit from hearing it. Back to the show.
So my surgeon was very conservative, and I know there's a couple of different strategies. Some people say to load earlier and some people not. My surgeon had me, first of all, I was in a cast, which I then thought I was going to go into a boot, which he then put me into another cast like 5 weeks later. So I was in like really strong plantar flexion. So with my toes almost pointed down to obviously try and keep that Achilles connected for, I can't even remember, maybe like 9 weeks in a cast. So it wasn't even in a boot yet. So 9 or 10 weeks. And so I wasn't able to wash my leg. I wasn't able to flex my foot. I could wiggle my toes. That was about it. I wasn't even allowed to touch the floor with my foot. So he was like, no, you can't even like rest it. Like, do not put any weight on it at all. Yeah, he was very, very conservative. So when that cast came off, I had basically like no calf muscle left at all. It was just like, and my calves are pretty strong as a dancer, and like it was just totally gone, like, total wastage. But I'd already started to get even muscle wastage, even though I was doing a bit of like leg like extension through my knee, flexion and extension. That even my quads were quite starting to waste as well, because I wasn't able to load on that. And yet it was like nothing there. And even then I was in the boot, and I was told I wasn't allowed to even weight bear still. It was like 12 weeks. Yeah. So I was off that leg for 12 weeks. So I actually got this when I was in the hospital while I was after the surgery. So I'm a bit proactive with things. And I found a knee crutch, which you basically strap on your thigh and it goes under your knee. So it's like a crutch, but it's like, yeah, you're not holding it with your arms. You're resting on your knee and you walk. Like becomes like a peg leg. So I got that. So I was able to get up and down the stairs at my studio so that I could teach Pilates mat work classes. And then I had a scooter for home and a scooter for the studio, and I just like zipped around the studio and taught from there. So I pretty much was just like instructing without doing a lot. But yeah, so after that, I actually found it quite hard to find a physio that really understood what I wanted and that I wanted to get back into doing it. And I don't know if it's because the surgeon was saying I wasn't allowed to do anything, but I ended up working with a guy in the States and in America, and he only deals with athletes that have Achilles ruptures. That's basically his specialty. And he devised me a program. We met on Zoom every week, like once a week, or WhatsApp once a week. And he checked in on me, and he devised a program for me, which started with quite low level work on getting my ankle mobility, massage, starting to build strength before I could even load, adding no band and then adding band and then all these sorts of things. And then progressing each week, he would change my program and challenged me a lot. And it was really good. Even though I know my body and I could have worked out some of the things, there was a lot of stuff that he added in that I probably wouldn't have challenged myself so much with or done. I guess Pilates is, well, I see Pilates as we don't do a lot of repetitions. And I remember reading an article from Joseph Pilates about this. We don't do a lot of repetitions. The aim is to do this well, then move on to the next and do lots of variety of movement. So to do 3 sets of 8 to almost failure was a different concept to what I'd done. But as rehab, it was definitely something I needed to do. And so I just, started to work on a lot. He worked with me a lot on calf and ankle strength, but obviously the straight leg and bent leg calf raises. So to work the soleus as well as the gastro, a lot of glute work as well. Yeah, it was a very good program, and each week it progressed, and I did that religiously every day. I would spend like maybe 2 hours a day on my rehab. I'm lucky I had the time and I have the equipment and I have the space. And then I started to add in, if he gave me calf raises, can I do it on the reformer? And like, how much load will that give me instead of holding on to a kettlebell? So I started to incorporate that into my routine as well, and doing like VMO type work on the Wonder Chair, so little work there, standing leg presses on the Wonder Chair to work on my balance, so the ankle stability had gone a lot as well. It was a lot of work, and there was days when I had to wear compression socks for months, and I would have swelling at the end of the day. Yes, it was pretty much my main focus outside of like running the studio was my rehab. And because I just was like, I've been told that this is career ending. I've been told that it'll take 12 months to get back to normal. And I just was like, I just need to do the work. And so, and I upped my collagen, I upped my vitamin C, I got on HRT. Yeah, just like everything that I could possibly do, I did. And my aim was, they said 12 months to like being back to like normal. And my goal was to get back on stage at a competition that I run and perform 11 months later. And so I got to the stage where I was able to train my routine and perform. Yeah.
Wow, well done.
And still stiff. Like I'm still stiff. Yeah, thank you. So it's still stiff. Like there's definitely not as much dorsiflexion as my other side, and it's still stiff. It's very thick, obviously, where the repair was. And like every day I still feel stiff, and I have to remind myself to keep doing, like even just work on my just strength in my calves and my legs. Yeah. But I mean, I just like, I guess it's something that I've always said, and I notice it even more for myself now through that, is I always feel like as much as injuries are awful, sometimes they actually help us progress more in different ways, because it made me really aware of some other imbalances in my body that I had, that I was using maybe my legs in a different way. I'm like, oh, my right hip flexor works differently. And I started to, so it actually helped me fix a couple of other things that I hadn't been aware of, because I was again doing that really focused work. Yeah. And oh, actually, also, I think the other thing that helped me, because I had someone that I knew at the same time who had ruptured their Achilles in Tasmania, and she had done it playing volleyball, I think. And she was frustrated because she wasn't getting the same results. She was doing all the work that this same guy, she was working with the same guy, um, was getting, and she wasn't getting maybe the same amount of result as what I was getting back to a single leg calf raise and those sorts of things. And I feel like having that Pilates background and the knowledge of how to, I guess, the anatomical knowledge as well. So when I was doing raise, I wasn't just thinking about lifting my heels. I knew it was plantar flexion, so I knew I had to think about pressing down through my toes. So I knew rather than just doing the action, I knew what the movement was. And then at the top, I could know, like, this is the muscle I need to engage. So I need to focus on that. So I think I was able to get more out of the exercises from my Pilates knowledge, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we see that in clients, don't we? Like they come to us and we go to do an exercise and they're like, oh, I'm already doing that at home. And then you say, okay, well, show me what you're doing. And then it's a really poor version of what you want them to be doing. But because you had that understanding of it, you know that you're doing it and involving every part of your fiber that needs to be involved to make that happen best as possible.
So I feel like I wasn't just doing the exercise, I was getting the most out of it that I possibly could with every single repetition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's wow. And I bet now you could take anybody who's had an Achilles rupture and know so much better what you can do with them, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So then that was 19 months ago, wasn't it? You said?
Yeah. It was the end of June 2024. Yeah.
Okay. And then fast forward to November just gone, and you want to tell us a story about where you've been and what you've been doing?
I just went to South Africa to compete so there's a couple of federations that are working towards getting pole into the Olympics. One of them I competed with back in 2012 in their very first year, but this is another one, and they call it POSA, which is a pole something. I don't even know what it stands for. Anyway, but this was their pole art competition. It was in South Africa, and I was in the Masters 50 plus division. So representing Australia, I was Team Australia, I had my flag, had my Australian tracksuit. It was very you have to do that whole at the end of your routine, sit in the kiss and cry, whatever it's called, while they put the scores up. So it was very official. So basically I went over there and I won my division, and had very good feedback from the judges. And I got a very high score, which was enough I was in the over 50s masters. I would have won the over 40s masters. And I also got enough score that I would have placed third in the 18 to 39 division. So I was pretty happy with that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Hey, the things that we can put our body through. Wow, that's amazing. And so what's on the horizon for you now?
So I've only just come back from having probably the longest break that I've ever had. I had nearly 3 weeks off. And even after my injury, I was back doing sort of Pilates for myself and teaching after a week. So I only walked for 3 weeks. So that was it. So I'm come back and I'm trying to rebuild my stamina again, because I have a competition in 8 weeks in Sydney called Pole Icon, which is the icons of Australian pole, and it's a global one as well. And it's an invitational competition. And so I will be at the Enmore Theatre in Sydney, which is a big theatre, in 8 weeks. And then I run my own competition as well. So that's in May for pole. And so back to teaching Pilates, teaching pole, training. But that's short term. That's it. That's the next 6 months.
Okay, so when it comes to your training, how could you give us an idea? Like, so say just in your everyday training when you're not super close to an event, what does your training schedule look like as far as pole and Pilates? And then as you're coming up closer to an event, what does it look like? And then what does your recovery look like?
Well, I'm teaching about 20 hours a week. So that's between, and they're mostly classes, although I do have a couple of private clients as well, so one-on-ones. And so that's from Monday to Saturday. So I'm working morning to evening, 4 nights a week, and then two extra mornings. So I'm pretty busy with that. So then I have to also do, especially for the pole classes, I have to do lesson planning for routines and those sorts of things. So I have to make sure that I set aside time for that. And then I would do some sort of warm up for that. And then I probably wouldn't do Pilates for myself every day, depending what I've taught, or it's in a mat class. I'm able to participate a little bit more than I might in a reformer class because I'm demonstrating at the front. And some of my mat classes run on Zoom, so I have people watching, so I have to do it as well. So, on those days, I might not do Pilates for myself, or I might just pick a few exercises and work on those, or jump onto the Cadillac. And I like to do a bit on there, actually, with the push-through bar and things like that. And then, or if I'm feeling like I needed I'm a bit tight, I might just do more of a stretch. And I try and do more active stretching because I think that's really important as far as, not just, I don't do a lot of passive stretching, I guess, really. Some more active stretching, and then, which sometimes could use the reformer. And then I would probably, if I'm not training for a competition, I would maybe do a little bit of conditioning on the pole, and then either, if I feel like just dancing, I might just dance. Might just put on some music and just dance low flow, or I might just get up the pole and freestyle a little bit, or I might have something new that I want to work on or create some different combinations. Do have to be very careful with pole because it's very easy to be one-sided, and that's where Pilates is very beneficial. So definitely training a routine, because you're doing repetition of the same thing, you're definitely working on your stronger side. So that's a bit of a danger. So I have to try and balance myself out, whether it's on the pole or in my Pilates. So that's where Pilates comes in very handy. But as I'm coming up to a competition, so for example, the one I did in November, I worked on for 5 or 6 months. So the process starts very early because I do everything from the music cutting and everything. So then the choreography is a lot of dance work as well. So I might spend a day just doing my dance choreography, or we have to work on a static and a spin pole. So they're quite different moves. So you have to be able to do moves on the spin pole, but then you have to do moves on the static pole, which might incorporate flips as well. So there's a lot involved. So I start to work on different sections, and I might focus on one section for a while. Again, I have to be really careful as I'm starting to work on combinations that if I'm repeating the same move over and over and over, it can be a bit heavy on maybe my arms or even the back of my legs. If I'm gripping with the back of my left knee a lot, I might start to get like raw skin. So there's lots of those sort of issues as well. So I just start to build it, and then I start to train different sections, and then I gradually put sections together. Like I might put section 1 and 2, or 2 and 3, or then 1, 2, and 3. So I build my stamina that way. And then by the time it's getting to the last couple of weeks or month if I can, is all I pretty much do is warm up and then run my routine once. And then if I feel like I need to work on any bits, then I do it. Usually my routines are too hard to do more than once. And then as a recovery, I try and remember to cool down properly, and I don't always do that. But I also bought myself one of those infrared saunas. I don't know how good it is. I got one last year, and it's just one of those heat ones. I don't think the infrared light works very well, but it's just getting in there, being warm, and it just sort of makes me sit. And I'm not very good at doing that otherwise. So it makes me sit in there, and I can stretch a bit, or I can roll my feet out, or I can just hang out in there. So that's good for warming up in winter as well a little bit, or just sitting in there just to chill afterwards. Yeah. I'm very much into heat. I'm not a cold person. I could never do a cold plunge. I think you do cold plunges, don't you? Do you
Yeah, I
do
like
that?
to do them both. Yeah, I'll do a sauna and then
Oh,
a cold plunge. But I live in the
yeah.
tropics,
I'm just,
right? You don't it's hot up here. So I love
yeah.
the benefit of sauna, especially for women and especially for
Yeah.
detoxification. But but I
Yeah.
love the feeling of invigorating in the cold plunge for sure at certain times of the month.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think that leading up to going to Cape Town last year, I think that having the sauna as the recovery, it's just a dry one. It's not like it's just a light one and a heat one. But I think that definitely was good for me. Yeah.
So now you've got coming up like your own pole comp, and you've got the international invitation only pole comp. That's pretty cool. Is that all ages?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I guess it's more of a showcase. They've been running for a few years, and it was just Australian. And this year they've made global. They've invited some people from overseas as well. So yeah, it's just a real honor to be part of that, because it's definitely but the people in it, the Australians are icons of the Australian pole industry. People that I've been polling with for a long time, but people that have achieved a lot and done a lot for the industry, and we can do whatever show we want. So the thing with this one is it's do whatever you like. So it's really is like a bit of a showcase. But there's a $10,000 prize. So, most pole comps don't have monetary prizes. So this one's pretty huge. And yeah, it's a real honor to be part of that. So that was the comp I was training for when I ruptured my Achilles. So I was supposed to do it 2 years ago. So yeah, they had to invite me back.
You're looking forward to it. And so what does keep you motivated? I mean, obviously it's not, I don't think money really motivates any, well, unless you're like LeBron James or something, but money doesn't motivate a lot of athletes. What does motivate you to keep training and to keep applying yourself?
I love being on stage. I love being on stage. And I think that having these goals of whether it's performing or competing. And so I've done like some professional shows in the last few years as well. Like with Rhonda Birchmore, I was in a show with her, who's a musical theatre icon in Australia. And I just having those goals to work for, that gives me my time, I guess, because I'm teaching so much and I'm giving so much of myself with the teaching, which I love. I mean, I love teaching, but to train for things myself, I need a goal and having something to work towards. I mean, I love dancing for myself as well, but I don't think I would train as much or as hard. I don't know. It's different. It's different. I really like to have a goal to work towards, whether that's recovering from an injury or whether it's performing something or whatever. So I like to have a tangible goal that I want to work towards. So that sort of motivates me. And I love being on stage. So that's a big motivator for me. That's like, I feel like that's where it all comes together. And I feel like all the work has paid off, and it just feels like another world for me. It's, yeah, I look at photos even, I'm like, is that even me? It feels like another person when I'm up there. So that, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, I guess it's almost like you get to be your stage persona when you're up there, hey?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's only might get to do it one time and it's 4 minutes and it's gone, but it's like 6 months work for 4 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of work, isn't it, for 4 minutes, you know? And so can you tell what's your this is a very difficult conversation because question because I actually struggle to answer it myself whenever I think about it myself. What is your definition of Pilates?
What is my definition of Pilates? I guess I'm going to say, a lifestyle, a lifestyle, a method. I feel like for me, it's I'm going to say my meditation in a way, because it's the time that I really slow down and I'm really in tune with my body, but I'm not doing other things outside of it, that I'm really focused on that. So that's really important to me, because it's very much, are you still hearing me okay? Yeah. So it's very much a mind body work. And I think it is about moving well and with intention and with focus, and all the principles of Pilates, I guess, all of that centering, breathing, flowing movement, control. I guess all of that embodies it for me.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I get so frustrated. Am I allowed to tell you my frustrations? Because I've had two people come to me this week that have done Pilates supposedly elsewhere, and they had not ever been taught how to breathe. They had never been told what their spine should be even feeling, doing, positioned, nothing. And they didn't know that when they moved their legs, they weren't supposed to move their pelvis. Like, I mean, I just get angry, really, but angry for them on their behalf. So I'm like, you've been like ripped off. So I feel like Pilates is just so much more than exercise. I feel like it is just much deeper. And the more I do it, the more passionate I get about that, and the more I feel it myself. And I can just do a single leg lift without even lifting both legs off my floor, and I get work from that. And I feel that the longer I do it, the deeper I can connect. And everyone's like, that's too easy. I'm like, no, it's not. I've been doing Pilates for 23 years, and that's hard for me. So how can it be easy for you? No, not that how can it be easy for you, but then we need to maybe find more connection, or breathe a bit deeper, or discover more. I discover more about my body every single class. And sometimes that's from watching my clients. I'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that. I can do that too. And that helps me more. So teaching helps me, learning from my students. The more I do it, the more I discover about my body, and the more I love it.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was
Yeah,
a long-winded question.
it is.
But I feel
It's
like Pilates, yeah.
okay.
And I feel like Pilates is, I was going to say, I don't think Pilates is, I don't think Pilates should be being like, Pilates is what makes me get my muscles and whatever. I feel like Pilates prepares us for the world outside. And I feel like I always say the benefit is not that you can do a single leg stretch, or that you can do a rollover, or you can do hundreds or whatever, the 100 if you want to be pedantic about it. But that you can go out there and you can run around with your kids, or you can paint the ceiling, or you can lift the stocking, and the benefit is out there. And like, oh, I didn't get sore when I did that, or I felt stronger, or I can do more than other people my age, or I can compete at pole at 56 when other people can't do it. So I think the benefit of Pilates is outside of the studio.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I love it. Pilates is the recipe. It's not, it's not
Yes.
it's
That's the
not what
backbone.
we
It's the
don't do
backbone
Pilates
of
because of
our.
Pilates. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's
Yeah.
how I feel similarly about Pilates. But I'm really gonna spend this year learning from other when I do get to speak to Pilates instructors, because I don't always speak to Pilates instructors. I'm trying to understand it more by understanding what your take is on it, because
Mm,
I want Pilates to have longevity. I want it to have
yeah.
integrity, and for it to be really recognized for all of the magic that you have spoken about. And I don't think that that's going to happen by putting down anything that isn't giving that, but it's by by bringing awareness to actually what Pilates can gift you. You know, that it's not about
I agree.
standing on a reformer and doing a million reps of something with one leg in the air. That's not the whole point of what we do. The point is that
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think also I think Pilates is about decompression, and it's about connecting all the parts of our body, and it's a full body workout. It's not, whereas I feel like, and again, not to put down what physios are doing with Pilates, but I feel like often they're focusing on one part of the body. And I feel like we need to work, like if I'm working my legs, I need to be aware of what my shoulders and my back and my neck are doing. And so it's got to be that full body integration with every single part of the movement. I feel like Pilates is that. It's full body integration all the time. In some way. It doesn't have to be tense. It's just every part has to be connected in some way. And fascially, we are. So.
Yes. Yeah. I teach that too. I always teach, you might be aware of this part of your body working, but this is full body integration in absolutely every exercise you're doing. We're never isolating one muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that message as well. Well, Joanna, thank you so much for your time. I love hearing about your story and your journey and your future and all the things, knowing that you are putting your little piece of Pilates out to the world, but also that you're owning it, that you're learning it in your own body every single day, like you're learning from your clients, you're learning from your own work. That is really the beauty of Pilates. My friend's Joanna Littlewood-Johnson from little old Perth. Be sure to check out the show notes. You have to follow Joanna on Instagram. She's like eye candy on the screen. When you share what you do on the screen, it lights up my day. So thank you for sharing what you do with the world. I think that it's amazing. But definitely everyone, make sure you check her out on Instagram. That will all be in the show notes. And make sure you check us out on YouTube now. We'll be sharing some little videos with you on YouTube, but please sing out if you've got anything. Thanks, Joanna, for joining us. And that's a wrap, my friend. Now, before you go, make sure you check out the show notes. That's exactly where you'll find anything we're offering alongside this very episode and the link to subscribe to the Pilates News newsletter. Our subscribers receive free handouts and resources connected to the topics we explore right here. They're specifically created for Pilates professionals, movement educators, and Pilates lovers just like you. So, until the next episode,